All right, we're back for our 5 best bets for college basketball here on January 7th. Yesterday, man, January 8th is today. January 7th, though, man, hey, 5-0 day, just saying. Shout out to Morgan State winning in double overtime. St. John's making it easy against Xavier. I mean, how about Florida blowing out Tennessee? And then, I mean, my goodness, what can we say about Bowling Green on the road? I told you Western Michigan wasn't very good. And then, New Mexico closing out the night. My goodness, it was a game that they were trailing. I can pull up the stat right now. They were trailing big at halftime, but shout out Donovan Dent. Shout out Nelly Jr. Joseph. I mean, Amzil shot 0 for 8 this game, and they still found a way to win. Shout out to the University of New Mexico Lobos. They were down 18-32 at halftime. They ended up closing that game out on I believe it was a 22-6 run. My goodness, ended up winning the game 61-53, covering the 7.5 points. I'm telling you guys, I am all over the New Mexico Lobos this season. So excited for that basketball team. I think they're going to win the Mountain West, and I think they're going to do some damage in the NCAA tournament. Regardless, we have 5 best bets today for Wednesday, January 8th. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel in an hour. We're going to be posting our NBA predictions, and my goodness, we've got the game of the year tonight. We're talking the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The best player in the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, heads on over to Cleveland to take on the Cavs. What a game. I'm so excited. We get the Thunder at plus money. It's going to be a good day. We're going to go over that again in an hour here on the channel. Also, make sure to go check out our UFC Fight Night Dern versus Hebas predictions on the channel. That is linked in the description down below, along with our college football predictions as well. Of course, the Orange Bowl is tomorrow between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Penn State Nittany Lions. So go check out that video in the description down below. The Cotton Bowl, by the way, again on Friday as well. Okay, let's get into the first of our 5 games for today. We're going to start things off with an early slot, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We go to Holy Cross versus Navy from Worcester, Pennsylvania. We're taking the Holy Cross Crusaders. I get it. Navy is the only undefeated team left in the Patriot League. But this is still a team that is 5-10 this season. They've got losses on the road against some bad basketball teams, and Navy is significantly worse on the road than at home. They pulled off a big victory by 1 point against Lafayette in their last game. Donovan Draper with a game-winning shot for the Midshipmen. Their first game was a win over American. I know what you're thinking about Holy Cross. They just lost to American. Again, I think it is a different game with the Midshipmen on the road than it is, obviously, with them being at home. I like Holy Cross a lot in this basketball game. Don't forget, guys, Navy started off the season so poorly. Their only wins this season are Harvard, not a bad win, but at home. They went to UPenn and won, okay. And then their only other wins are American at home and Lafayette at home, and then Washington College of Maryland, obviously, in NIAA. This team has struggled mightily on the road all season long. We're talking about losses to the New Jersey Institute of Technology. We're talking about loss at VTech. It is what it is. VTech goes to Stanford today. Not going to pick that game, even though I think VTech should probably cover, but that's not one of the 5 best bets for today. Guys, Navy went to Copen State and lost by 8 points, and then their last loss came on the road to William and Mary. I'd expect them to lose on the road here to the Crusaders. I think Holy Cross is the better basketball team. Again, yes, they lost on the road to American, but their first victory in the Patriot League was a home win over Loyola, Maryland, winning that game by 2 points. They're led by Max Green, who averages 14.5 points a night for this Crusaders squad. Wins this season at home against Sacred Heart, on the road at Brown, home against New Hampshire, wins at Quinnipiac, Harvard, Siena. This team wins close basketball games. Again, the win over Quinnipiac, a 1-point win on the road. The win over Loyola, Maryland, a 2-point win at home. The win over New Hampshire, a 2-point victory. This team goes out and wins competitive basketball games. I think Holy Cross is able to come through. Again, I just think Navy has had, kind of a miracle start to their season. Again, don't forget, this is a 5-10 basketball team that just, again, has won 2 games in the Patriot League. Ultimately, I don't think they're that great, and I do think the Crusaders are the better basketball team. Again, Holy Cross coming into this one with a 9-6 record. And I know if you want to play, college basketball math, you can say, all right, Navy beat American University and Holy Cross lost to American University. But again, Holy Cross had to go on the road. Navy got that game at home. I think everything in this game kind of points to a Holy Cross victory. As we look at the odds for this game, we're getting -125 for the Crusaders. We are getting plus money for the Midshipmen at +105. I just think, again, Holy Cross is the better basketball team, and they should be able to come through in this spot. Give me the Crusaders to go to 2-1 in Patriot League play, and with a victory over the Midshipmen, they now automatically go up to number 1 in the Patriot League standings, obviously with their tie-breaking victory over Navy. Let's move on to our second best bet of the video, and we go to the Big East. Guys, Yukon has still been a different team since they went to Maui. It was a disaster in Maui for the Yukon Huskies, losing 3 games in back-to-back-to-back nights. Dan Hurley was losing his mind, but what has Yukon done since? They have won every single game they have played. Now again, Liam McNeely is out for this basketball game, which is going to hurt Yukon, but at the same time, we get better odds on the Huskies, who at one point dropped all the way to 25th in the college basketball rankings. Now they are 9th after putting together, 8 victories since going to Maui. We're talking about victories against Maryland Eastern, Baylor, Texas on the road, Zaga, Xavier, Butler, DePaul, Providence. They are 4-0 in Big East play. And while we're talking about the Big East, we got to mention we have a big game today in the Big East between DePaul and Butler. No, and Seton Hall, excuse me. Somebody's got to win. It's one hell of a basketball game, guys. DePaul has not won a conference game in a year and a half. They've lost 28 in a row, give or take. I think Seton Hall still beats them. I think DePaul is that bad. I know Seton Hall can't score, but I'm taking the Pirates to beat DePaul. That is, again, not one of the 5 best bets for today, but I don't mind that spot for the Pirates. But at the same time, I'd completely stay away. You're betting on DePaul and Seton Hall. There are much better games today to bet on. And again, we've got 5 of them for you right now. I like Yukon. Again, even without McNeely, that's going to suck. Again, he does make up for a lot of the scoring for this Yukon squad. McNeely averages 13.5 points a night. That means Caravan is going to have to step up. I mean, Alex Caravan shooting 42% from beyond the arc this season. He's going to have a huge impact for this team, averaging 16.5 points a night. You need Solo Ball to step up, who's averaging 13. Terrace Reed Jr. averaging 11. These guys are going to have to step up for Yukon. I think they're going to be fine. I think Vegas is mispricing this basketball game. And I think, again, don't get me wrong, Liam McNeely is a huge loss for Yukon. That is undeniable how big of a loss that's going to be for this team. But at the same time, I think they are able to come through in this game. They go on the road, and again, Caravan had a pretty bad game in his last one against Providence. He shot 1 for 3 from beyond the arc, scored 13 points in 39 minutes. We're going to need more scoring out of him. But again, Solo Ball at 16, Hassan with 19 as well, and they got bench scoring out of Mahaney and Terrace Reed as well. I'm fine with Yukon in this spot. Again, they've climbed up to 9th now in the college basketball rankings. And for Nova, a 3-1 team in the Big East this season. Again, Yukon is 4-0. For Nova, their losses at Creighton, their wins at home against Seton Hall, on the road against Butler, and a win over DePaul. Guys, the only 3 teams the Wildcats have beat so far in Big East play are the only winless teams in the conference. Again, we're talking about the Pirates of Seton Hall, we're talking about DePaul, and we're talking about the Bulldogs of Butler. Again, yes, they were able to go on the road to the Hinkey Fieldhouse in Indianapolis and beat the Bulldogs, but still, not sold on Nova. They blew out a horrible DePaul team. That's expected. And sure, they've looked a lot better recently. Obviously, started the year really rough, losing to Columbia, losing to St. Joe's on the road, losing to Virginia, losing to Maryland. And they have bounced back, which is great. Led by Eric Dixon, who again does literally everything for this basketball team. Dixon averaging 26 points a night. You get, you get some other guys as well as who average more than 10 a night. But really, again, it is all Eric Dixon, averaging 26 points a game, 6 rebounds. He is Villanova. So if Yukon, again, is able to double him, if Yukon's able to get the ball out of Dixon's hand, I think they're going to be fine. Again, I trust in Dan Hurley to go on the road and win this basketball game. It's a Big East spot. I get it. Yukon's got to go to Nova for this game, but I don't mind the Huskies at all on the road in Pennsylvania. Give me the number 9 ranked Yukon Huskies on the road at Villanova to win this basketball game. I get it. Again, the McNeely loss is huge. I'm not denying that. That is a big loss for this basketball team, but we're going to need, again, Solo Ball. We're going to need Alex Caravan to show up and win this game for the Huskies. They're ranked number 9 for a reason. And again, they have been just a different team since they came back from Maui. 3 straight losses. They have not lost since big victories over Texas, Zaga, amongst others. I think they go on the road and continue their hot streak to continue Big East play undefeated. Give me the Yukon Huskies on the road in Villanova, Pennsylvania to beat the Villanova Wildcats. Let's move on to our third best bet of the video, and we go to the Big Ten. We go to Assembly Hall, Bloomington, Indiana, for the Indiana Hoosiers and the USC Trojans. Guys, I've been hating on Indiana all year long, but this is a spot where they will blow out USC. I believe it. I really do. Guys, I just watched USC host Michigan and lose by 11 points the other night. Now they got to go on the road to Bloomington, Indiana to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. It's a big spot for the Hoosiers. They are 3-1 in Big Ten play this season. The only loss being on the road in Lincoln to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is a team that has not lost at Assembly Hall all year long. They've got big victories over South Carolina, a win over Minnesota, which is very expected. And by the way, man, Minnesota 2 nights ago, wow. what a choke job. Shout out the Buckeyes. I don't think Ohio State's that great, but what I do know is that Minnesota is absolutely horrible. So shout out the Buckeyes for coming through in that basketball game in double overtime against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. But yes, the Hoosiers with Big Ten victories over Minnesota, Rutgers at home, and they went on the road to University Park and beat Penn State, a game that I didn't expect the Hoosiers to win. But you know what? I'm sold. Omar Ballo, 25-13 in that basketball game. If everyone on this Indiana team can truly play to their potential, this is going to be a great squad this season. Again, though, I've been hating on Mike Woodson all year long because I went to every Indiana home game last year, and I witnessed that team just collapse game in and game out with a guy like Khalil Ware on the court, with, again, Malik Reneau still there, with Mackenzie Mbako, and I witnessed this team lose all but 2 games at home in Big Ten play all year long. Thanks, Wisconsin, by the way, for not winning that game. But if someone at Indiana didn't pull the fire alarms, I think Wisconsin probably would have won that game. Regardless, if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Wisconsin, Indiana last year. As soon as Wisconsin goes on a run, they tie the game, the fire alarms go off, and everyone's got to evacuate Assembly Hall. That was something, I'm not going to lie. Regardless, Indiana should be able to take care of this USC squad. Again, if everybody on Indiana is playing to their potential, we're talking about Omar Ballo, we're talking about Miles Rice, we're talking about Mackenzie Mbako, we're talking about Malik Reneau, Trey Galloway, again, still needs to find LinkedIn. The Kelly School of Business is right there. Maybe you should, actually get a job. Maybe you can work for the Pacers or something. I don't know. But Trey Galloway is, a 6th-year senior? I mean, shout out to him for living out the dream, but I don't know, man. It's time to start a family. Regardless, for USC, again, coming off that loss to Michigan, they are 1-2 in Big Ten play this season, losing to Oregon. They went on the road to Seattle to beat the Washington Huskies. But honestly, going to Washington and beating the Huskies is not that difficult. Sometimes, UW has a win now in Big Ten play, but it is what it is. I still think they're bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten, them and Minnesota. I would like to hope Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper can figure it out at Rutgers, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? I like the Hoosiers a lot in this spot, though. Again, USC, 9-5 this season. Desmond Claude leading their team with 15 points a night. It's just, I don't know. I'm not sold on the Trojans at all. Additionally, they got to go to the Midwest for this game, coming off a loss on Saturday at home to Michigan. This team has lost to Cal this season. They lost to St. Mary's, where they scored 36 points. They lost to my guys over the New Mexico Lobos. Again, we are going to be riding with the Lobos all year long. I'm going to try to make it to their game on Tuesday against the San Jose State Spartans next week, assuming I'm not still deathly sick. Regardless, USC with a loss against Oregon, and sure, again, they bounced back and won 4 in a row, but who are they beating? UW, Montana State, Cal State, Northridge, who did beat UCLA last season. I was at that. And then Southern. Again, I'm not sold on the Trojans at all. Again, I've been very hesitant to take Indiana this season. I have faded the Hoosiers a lot this year. But trust me in this spot, they are going to take care of business against USC. USC does not know how it's like to play at Assembly Hall, and when Indiana's winning, Assembly Hall is a difficult place to play. Now, last year, when they weren't winning, it wasn't a difficult place to play. I mean, I watched Wright State remain really competitive against the Hoosiers last year in Bloomington. I witnessed, again, Ace Baldwin and Penn State go to Indiana and win. It's a different Hoosiers team this year. They are better than last year, and of course, as soon as I leave Indiana, their football team's in the playoffs. Shout out Chris Ignetti, Fernando Mendoza, man. Indiana's going back to the playoffs next season. Their only loss is going to be at Oregon next year. They will go to Penn State and win. Trust me. It'll be a whiteout. They will go to Penn State and win that football game. Regardless, their football team's a playoff team now. Their basketball team seems like they're back again. They're not totally back yet. Maybe they should be I don't know if they're gonna be in the tournament this year. We'll see. If they can keep stringing together some victories, I think Indiana will get there. If not, at least we're looking at the NIT. They declined the NIT last year. I wanted to go watch NIT basketball in Bloomington. I had nothing better to do out there. Regardless, give me the Indiana Hoosiers at home. The line is 6.5 points. I think they cover it. Minus 280 if you want to parlay it with something else. There are spots to do it. Watch our NBA video later today for some, again, money line parlay spots we like in the around minus 250 to 200 to 300 range. Sometimes I'll do that if I'm not completely, I don't feel great about the spread. I think Indiana covers it. But again, if you want to, tease the parlay, or if you want to, again, build a parlay on it, take the minus 280 for Indiana, and then I'll just give it to you right now. Don't mind the Indiana Pacers as well. We can build an all-Indiana parlay today with the Hoosiers and the Pacers both playing 45 minutes from each other. I low-key kind of miss going to Pacers games. Full transparency. Indiana Pacers games to get in the building, on a night where they're not playing anybody big. They're playing the Bulls tomorrow. The tickets are $8. Where I am at now, Going to watch the Golden State Warriors, you're lucky if you can find a ticket under $90. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. And I'd rather watch the Pacers than the Warriors. Anyways, give me the Indiana Hoosiers to win this basketball game, cover the 6.5 points at home against the USC Trojans. Next up, we go to the SEC. Maybe the game of the day. I feel like it kind of has to be. We're talking about the Oklahoma Sooners at home in Norman against the Texas A&M Aggies. Give me Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. I like the Sooners at home. Guys, this is a 13-1 basketball team. Sure, they go to Tuscaloosa and lose to a top 5 team in Alabama. Don't be discouraged. They're going to beat Texas A&M, a team that has struggled on the road this season. Yes, it's one game. I don't care. They lost to UCF early in the year. Not a great loss. When they go play neutral site games, they've lost to Oregon, and sure, they beat Purdue and Texas Tech and Rutgers. We're not going to talk about that. Still, the one road game A&M has played all year long, they laid an egg and scored 61 points at the Addition Financial Arena, I believe that's what it's called, in Orlando, Florida against UCF. I don't trust them to go on the road and beat Oklahoma. Again, home court advantage is a big deal. You watched it yesterday in Gainesville between Florida and Tennessee. Tennessee had scored 20 points, if that, in the first half. It was ridiculous. Florida stomped them. Being at home in the SEC really matters. The SEC in the Big Ten, there's nothing like it. And again, Oklahoma, a new SEC squad, but still. Home court advantage in the SEC is going to matter. It is the first conference game between the Aggies and the Sooners in Norman, and I think Oklahoma gets it done. Again, they've got one loss all year long. Their wins, Michigan by 1 point, Oklahoma State, they beat Louisville, they beat Georgia Tech. I know some of those ACC squads aren't the most impressive, but Louisville, not a bad victory. Arizona, Providence, I get they're really disappointing at the Big East this year, but that's another win. Oklahoma has been able to stack victories this season. And yes, they lost one game at Tuscaloosa against a top 5 team. It is going to happen to you. Oklahoma's led by Jalen Moore and Jeremiah Fears. Both those guys average 18 points a night. Duke Miles averages 12, and Kobe Elvis averages 10. I like the Sooners a lot in this spot. For A&M, again, a team that's 1-0 in SEC play this year. It was a home win against the Texas Longhorns. Good victory. And if you're talking about Texas A&M, you're obviously talking about Wade Taylor IV, averaging 16 points a night. He is the leader of this A&M squad, of course, with Zurich Phillips, with Solomon Washington, with Henry Coleman. I mean, these guys are going to be the ones eating up minutes for this Aggies team. They're deep. They're a deep squad. I'll give them that. But I think going on the road is going to be very tough in this basketball game, and I don't mind the value at all for the Oklahoma Sooners. Again, we're looking at this. We get minus 120, minus 1.5 for Oklahoma, who I don't know if they're the better team, but I think in this environment, I really like them. You got A&M going on the road. Again, do not forget, and I understand it's the first game of the year, but they went on the road and beat UCF. Lost to UCF by 3 points. That is not a loss that has aged all that well. And, we experienced that firsthand by thinking that they were going to have a chance against Kansas. That's my fault. They lost by 50 points. But regardless, and UCF has lost every single big game they played this year. My God. Well, I guess they went on the road to Tech and won. But regardless, that's not a loss that's aged all that well for the Texas A&M Aggies. Yeah, it's 1 of 2 losses all year long. Their loss being to Oregon on the 26th of November. But still, I like Oklahoma in this one. I think they should be able to stop Wade Taylor IV. I like Jeremiah Fears. I like Jalen Morgan. Both those guys put up numbers night in and night out. We had, Moore has been leading their team in scoring the last couple nights against Prairie View A&M, and against Bama, where he dropped 20 and 7. But then again, you're going to have Miles and Fears who are able to score as well. Again, I like this big 3 of sorts for the Sooners between Jeremiah Fears, Jalen Moore, and Duke Miles. I think the Sooners are able to win this basketball game at home against the Texas A&M Aggies. Going on the road in college basketball makes a difference. Again, we saw it yesterday with Florida and Tennessee, especially in the SEC. It makes a difference. Give me the Sooners at home. I think it's a big spot. It's the biggest game of the day, but we like Oklahoma at home to pick up their biggest win of the year against their new SEC rival in the Texas A&M Aggies. Let's go into our final game of the night, and we had to do it. South Dakota State, St. Thomas, Minnesota. I've been waiting for this spot all year long, and here we go. This is where South Dakota State establishes themselves as the best team in the Summit League. We've been hyping up SDSU all year long. Why is this game not on national television? Are you kidding me? Guys, this is the only game on ESPN right now that is listed that is not on national TV. What are we doing? What? Seriously? South Dakota State, St. Thomas, oh God, right there. No network. Why does Kansas City and Omaha get CBS Sports Network? Why? Who decided that? Okay, we're gonna look this up. Why is this game not on national TV? Who did this? I mean, every other game's at least on ESPN Plus somewhere. The Jacks in the Summit League used to be on ESPN Plus a couple years ago. We'll look this up. But anyways, I like South Dakota State a lot in this spot. I've been waiting to pick this team against St. Thomas, Minnesota all year long. SDSU, again, this is a different team in the Summit League. They have established their dominance in the Summit League all year long. For the last couple of years. Obviously, again, South Dakota State has been the leaders of the Summit League for the last 5 years. This is on the Summit League Network, so I think this is online for free, I would hope. Nope, you have to pay for this on Midco Sports Plus. Great. That's awesome. We'll see if I can find a stream. RIP Meth and Crack streams. And now Stream East. RIP. UFC pay-per-views will never be the same. God, we're gonna have to pay for UFC pay-per-views now? Oh my goodness. No, we'll find a way. I'll drive all the way to Inglewood before I pay for a UFC pay-per-view. Regardless, give me I'd rather go to a bar than pay the. God, that would actually be kind of crappy. Regardless, give me the Jackrabbits here. Okay, guys, this team has been dominant in the Summit League since I've been starting watching college basketball. All right, this is a true story. I've said it time in and time out. I know you guys some of you guys are probably sick of this story, but I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell my past viewing experience with the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Okay. The year where I first started to really watch college basketball, obviously, again, I had watched the NCAA tournament. The year I really started paying attention was when South Dakota State made the NCAA tournament as a 12 seed, I think it was a 12 seed, and took on Ohio State in the tournament. I believe that was Keita Bates-Diop's year at Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. That's the South Dakota State team with Mike Daum. Skylar Flatton was a senior. Mike Daum was a junior. Anyways, I picked South Dakota State to win the tournament. I was in middle school, I believe. I think I was. I got my teacher, shout out Mr. Lemak, my favorite teacher ever. Definitely not watching this video, but, just know, Mr. Lemak, you're that guy. Regardless, we watched that game on the projector in the classroom because everyone in the class knew I had picked the South Dakota State Jackrabbits to win the NCAA tournament. I actually haven't gone this far in the story, but I'll tell it. Anyways, they lose to Ohio State. I have been kind of a fan of the Jackrabbits ever since. I watched them lose in the NIT the next year against Texas. I watched them collapse that same year against West Illinois in the 1-8 matchup in the Summit League. I watched them collapse the year after the COVID year. No, that wasn't the COVID year. They collapsed in North Dakota State that next year, and then they collapsed the COVID year as well. Anyways, this is a Jackrabbits team that's made it back to the NCAA tournament by winning the Summit League in back-to-back seasons. They are going to win it again this year. St. Thomas, Minnesota, sure, they are 12-5 this season. They are not on the level of the Jackrabbits. South Dakota State, you might look at them on paper, you see 10-6. The games they have lost this year, you take away the Northern Colorado loss. They lost to Boise. They lose to Montana on the road. They lose to Nevada on the road. They lose to Colorado in Boulder. They lose to Bama in Tuscaloosa. This team's a very good squad. We took them as dogs in all of those games, and they didn't cover a lot of them. They covered the Boise game though. Shout out. But I've seen this team beat McNeese this season. I have seen this team already in Summit League play beat Denver, who I understand is bottom of the barrel, but still, if Oscar Clough is on, he is one of the better bigs in all of college basketball, especially for the Summit. I get it, he's a little undersized, but it's the Summit League, so whatever. Shout out to the man out of Sunshine Coast. Where's QLD? Queensland? He's from Australia? Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Anyways, if Oscar Clough's on, he's a monster. 30 points in the victory against Denver. 19 rebounds. The Bama loss, 21 points, 15 rebounds. He's going to manhandle dudes in the Summit League this season. He's going to. He went from Wazoo last year, averaging 7 points a night, to 18 this year with the Jackrabbits. St. Thomas, Minnesota lost to that absolute cesspool that's known as UC Riverside. If you lose to UC Riverside, get out. We're not, no. Now I know they've got some good victories already in the Summit League. I did not think they were going to go to North Dakota State and win. Good for them. They went to Fargo and got the job done. Unsurprisingly, they beat UND, but it's a whole different game when you take on the Jackrabbits, who have been the kings of the Summit League all year long, for the last 5 years, essentially. Even in the years they've choked in the tournament, this is a team that's dominated the regular season in the Summit League, and I think this is a huge spot for the Jackrabbits to prove just how good they are. Again, we're getting plus money for South Dakota State. If you get plus money for South Dakota State in the Summit League, you take it. You absolutely take it. Again, you look at Zeke Mayo at Kansas. Where did he come from? South Dakota State. You look at Baylor Shireman, who went to Creighton, got picked with the 30th pick in the NBA draft last year by the Boston Celtics. Where did he come from? South Dakota State. All these guys originate in Brookings. And we're taking South Dakota State to go on the road at St. Paul and beat St. Thomas, Minnesota, who I think is fraudulent. Yeah, they won a big game in North Dakota State. That's the biggest victory they're going to get all year. Give me the Jackrabbits to walk into Minnesota and beat the Tommies. We like Oscar Clough to have a huge night, and South Dakota State goes on the road and beat St. Thomas, Minnesota at plus money, plus 145. You could take the plus 3.5. We like the Jacks tonight, and we're hoping we replicate what we did last night with a 5-0 night. We're hoping we can do the same exact thing here on Wednesday. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on January 8th. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment. If you do disagree with any of the picks, we'll be back again in an hour for our NBA predictions, and tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets as we're taking this all the way to March Madness and beyond. Well, actually that's the end. And then we'll have MLB daily best bets. That's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to hear me complain about the Washington Nationals every single day. I'm excited for it. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.